All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just a Girl from Cleveland. This is episode 114. Coming back quickly with another episode here because obviously it's football season now. Like I mentioned last episode, going to try to start recording a little bit more regularly now that we have football back, which is super exciting. Recording again on the YouTube. I also had a comment last week on my last video that they didn't like the angle that I did the camera and that they would rather me be straight on with the camera. For some reason, I felt like the other was like a little more artistic, and I just sometimes feel weird just talking directly to myself in the camera, but we're gonna do that this time and give it a try. So let me know what you guys think. Please give me the feedback as I am trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing moving forward. So let me know what you think of this, and I'm gonna try to make sure I'm talking to the camera for at least most of the time. Well, you know, obviously I have to check my notes so I remember everything that I want to make sure I bring up today. But we have a couple different topics to get into today. I want to talk about Jose Ramirez and his nice little fight in the game the other day with Tim Anderson. Very exciting. We love a baseball fight. We have some Pro Football Hall of Fame game news. So that obviously happened this past week on Thursday, our first official football game of the season, and the Browns were in it, which was pretty exciting. And I think, you know, even though the starters didn't play in that game, I have some pretty interesting takeaways that I want to get into and just thoughts from that game in general. So we will talk about that, and then just kind of some other random Browns news that you know, just has come up over the last week-ish since I recorded the last episode. Okay, so we're gonna get into all of that now. Let's start with Jose and his fight against Tim Anderson. So I was not watching this game when it happened, but started hearing that something was going on in the game that was a little bit important, and officially saw the clips, and it was basically Jose sliding into second. Tim Anderson was chirping him in some way, and then Jose, you know, kind of gets up, starts mouthing off back to him. I think Tim kind of initiated the like let's fight moment, and they squared up. They didn't just fight. They were like, okay, we're doing this. Like, we are setting the scene, setting the moment. Squared up, and they went for it. Tim got in maybe 2 or 3 punches before Jose went in with his killer right hook. I think it was a right hook. And Tim was down bad. Tim was on the ground. Tim was wobbling when he got up. Jose pretty much knocked him out, which is super embarrassing for Tim Anderson. But I was talking with a friend. Tim Anderson had a scandal maybe about a year or so ago, that he got his side chick pregnant very publicly and embarrassingly. And, you know, I just like to think that Jose did this for women everywhere and was like, hey, this guy, we're not letting that happen. And, you know, a lot of people have had kind of beef with Tim Anderson over the years. I think he mouths off to guys a lot, is making little comments, chirping at people. So I think this was maybe a long time coming, and Jose was speaking for how a lot of different players feel about Tim Anderson. So it just felt like this was overall like a moment for karma to enact itself. So that was fun. Jose ended up getting suspended for 3 games. Tim Anderson got suspended for 6, which is funny because he's the one that got knocked out, but he got double the amount of games. Tito got 1 game. I think there were some guys maybe on the White Sox who got a little bit 1, 3, just a little here and there, as well as their manager, I believe. So understandable that, you know, a suspension was going to happen. I get why Jose's getting suspended, but I kind of wish the league was like, you know what? Tim kind of deserved it. Like, we'll let this one slide and keep Jose out there. But, you know, sometimes you need to do stuff like that. You have to defend yourself when someone's talking a little bit too much, and it kind of motivates the team sometimes. Like, I think sometimes it just pumps other people up to see that their teammates care and they're passionate about what's going on. And I think in this case, Jose really cares about his team, is very passionate about it. So I'm all for it, honestly. Like, I'm not always all for fights, but this one, like in particular, I'm down. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. Let's get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame game. So, like I mentioned, a lot of takeaways from this game, even though they didn't play any of the starters. I was actually able to go to the game, which was really fun. And I was on the sidelines for a pregame, just kind of taking pictures and videos and observing everything that was happening with a lot of different guys. And some things that really stood out to me, first of all, from being on the sideline, Dawand Jones, largest human being I've ever seen in my life. At first, I could kind of see him to the side and I saw his number, and I'm not quite up on the numbers of some of the younger guys that we just drafted yet. It takes me a second to get all those memorized. So I was like, wait, who is that guy? Like, he is massive. And then when he turned a little, I saw the last name. I was like, oh, okay, yep, that's him. And I have just truly never seen a bigger human being. Like, even just down there in person, he looked so much bigger even than he does on TV. And he looks pretty big on TV when you see him compared to other guys who are also big around him. Like, he's not next to small guys. He's next to other massive human beings, and he still manages to look that big, which is pretty insane. So there's definitely a lot of potential there for him. I thought he did really well in the preseason game. He had 35 pass blocking snaps, and he had 0 pressures allowed in those snaps. So pretty good stats. And I know you're not playing the highest level of competition, but that's what you want to see from guys that you took in later rounds. You want to see that they can be competing in those games, being locked down like that. It's super important to just like know that they are going in the right direction and can play at this level. And, you know, as long as he continues to work, I don't know what their goal for him is on his weight, but I know that's been a concern for him, obviously. So we'll see how it goes as, you know, the season goes on. And I think there's been some questions about his love for the game in general, too, and his dedication and commitment to it. So just interested to see how that goes. But from, you know, his ceiling and what he can be as a player, I think it's extremely high, and people should really be excited about the potential there. And, you know, I talked about this when we drafted him. Some people get mad when you make those picks, like knowing that maybe a guy has some questions about character or about love of the game. But when you're picking so many guys in a draft, you can't pick all the same type of player. Sometimes you have to take those shots and say, hey, this might fail, this might not work out, but the upside is worth it to take a shot on this guy. And I think that's how they felt about him. And they felt about many guys in the past. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. That's why it's a gamble. And you just have to pick and choose when you make it. So hopefully it works out for him. Also on the offensive line, Luke Whippler, he also had 0 pressures allowed and played extremely well. He is probably going to make the center competition a little bit interesting, I think, just as we look towards the future of the center position with the Browns. We have Ethan Posich, who, you know, surprised everyone last year with how well he was able to play. I don't think a lot of people expected that when Nick Harris went down in the preseason, that, you know, Posich was just going to be able to come in and be pretty locked down the whole season. So I think it created some questions then about once Nick Harris is healthy again, what do you do from there? And then they go and take Luke Whippler in, I believe, the 6th or 7th round. Like, he was an extremely late pick, but has kind of performed really well. And it was one of those guys where he was still left on the board and you were like, we have to take him because he is more talented. He somehow fell to here. Let's just take a swing on this, even though we don't necessarily need the position. It might turn out that Nick Harris could, I think, end up being, you know, getting the short end of the string on this one. Like, it's going to be tough just in terms of when contracts are up. I think they're probably going to go with Posich for this season, and then maybe they end up deciding that they want to move forward with Whippler if they feel like they see enough from him. I think that's a possibility, but I'll be interested to see where that goes in the future. You know, like I said, it's still hard to say because that's how he performed in a preseason game against second, third string talent. Like, you're not playing the top talent. So understood that it's not, you know, maybe the best judgment of what someone is able to do, but is something to keep an eye on, I think. Okay. Something bad from the game. Cade York, which you guys know breaks my heart to say that. But gosh, I'm struggling with, you know, how much I have defended this man. And I really do want to see him succeed. Like, I think he obviously has it in him because in, you know, training camps and everything, like, he is able to make incredibly long kicks. He has the physical ability to do the job. I am just starting to doubt whether or not he has the mental ability to do the job. He missed a 49-yard field goal at the beginning. I think it was the first quarter of this Hall of Fame game, which, wasn't a great start to have, considering, some of the misses that he had last season that were pretty frustrating for people. You definitely want to see that in his second year go away, and obviously it hasn't quite yet. I think what they'll probably do is bring in some kicking competition just to hold him accountable, make sure he doesn't feel too comfortable, and then see how he does throughout the beginning of the season. And if things start to turn for the worse, then you probably have to make a switch at that point, which would be really unfortunate, because I was so excited about this pick last year. You guys know, very excited, and I wanted it to work out. So I'm still willing to give him some time here at the beginning of the season to see what he has, but at some point, if it isn't going well anymore, we'll have to make a decision there. Other things I saw during pregame when I was down on the field, just in terms of feel-good things that I saw from players. Zadarius Smith signed a ton of autographs for fans. He was going all around in the lower bowl area and signing for kids, which was really nice to see. And Myles Garrett was extremely interactive with the fans. He was playing catch with fans throughout maybe like a 15-20 minute period, just throwing back and forth into the crowd, and it made those kids' days when they would catch a ball from Myles Garrett. Like, you could see the look on their face, I can't believe that just happened to me, and throw it back to him. So it was really exciting to kind of see that side of them a little more up close and personal, and just the reaction of the fans and how much it means to them when they do things like that. So good guy moment for Myles Garrett. I really appreciated watching that. It was fun. Okay, so other takeaways from the Hall of Fame game. DTR and Cedric Tillman are my last two that I want to get into. So I'll just quickly mention Cedric Tillman because my DTR takeaways are a little bit more extensive. I thought Cedric Tillman looked great. I think he is exactly what we thought he was going to be in terms of that bigger bodied receiver that I talked about that we don't really have on this team. I think he also looks extremely confident and isn't hesitant as compared to some of the other wide receiver competition we saw out there. Example, Anthony Schwartz. Sorry, Anthony Schwartz. I don't want to pile on the guy. I feel bad, but it's just not working out. I just don't think he's a football player. And it makes it pretty clear when you have a guy come in first year that we took in a similar round to Anthony Schwartz, but is a little bit more of a football player, not just a speed guy, but he has all of those qualities that you are looking for in especially a guy that can step in pretty quickly and hopefully have an impact. And I truly believe I could see Cedric Tillman coming in this season and having an impact in this offense, and that he could be pretty useful. So looking forward to that and interested to see how they end up using him and how much they end up using him. And then DTR is my final big takeaway. And gosh, it was so fun to be able to watch him. And I think it was almost more important that we had the comparison from the first half to the second half of Kellen Mond in the first half. Just didn't look confident, wasn't patient in the pocket. He was really the opposite of what we saw in DTR, which was confidence and poise in the pocket. And it felt like he had been there before, which I think isn't that shocking if you look at his history in college. He started for 5 seasons at UCLA, which is a long time. I mean, there's plenty of guys who are drafted and they started maybe 1 season and then they went into the draft. So it's a huge deal that he had that much experience playing at a high level in college and not just being on the team, but starting all of those years, I think really benefits him. And it showed in this that he was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to be impatient and get rid of the ball too quickly or throw it somewhere I shouldn't. I'm just going to hold back, go through my reads, do my job, and if no one's open, then I'm going to use my feet, which is something he's really good at, similar to the way Deshaun Watson plays, which I think is a huge part of why they wanted him as a backup on this roster. So was really promising to see that, because I think people forget too, Deshaun Watson has had an injury history. He's torn two ACLs, one in college, one professionally. And there's just no matter, even if you don't have an injury history, there's always that risk. So you want to have confidence in a backup that can come in and be like, okay, I can step into this offense and run it as we have been running it. And picking someone like this who has a very similar style of play, I think was strategic and very on purpose to have a safe backup plan in case, even if Deshaun has to go out for a couple of series because he irritates something. DTR, I think, could be a guy that could step in and really, play a couple good series for us, or just have some good moments, make a good throw, won't totally collapse under pressure and throw an interception and change the course of a game. Like, that's what you're worried about with a backup, that the moment's a little bit too big for them. I think DTR won't have moments like that. So more specifically in terms of the stats in his game, he had an 11-play, 88-yard touchdown drive, which was awesome to see the team just go the full length of the field like that. I think we struggled to do that last year, so it was kind of fun to watch. He even, DTR specifically, threw a nice block for Demetric Felton, which was pretty funny, and that allowed Felton to get in the end zone for a touchdown. And I think that's a moment that you look at it and it really just tells you who DTR is as a player and a person, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that would not do that. That would just be like, I'm a steer clear of this. Don't want to have to get in there and throw a block. But that's a real team player right there who says, hey, I see a need in this moment, and his instinct is to go in and attack rather than just kind of stand back and let everyone else handle it. So I think that just tells you a lot about him, and I definitely appreciate seeing something like that. There was also a nice fourth quarter drive that helped secure the win. DTR was 4 for 4 passing with 444 yards with a 22-yard touchdown to Austin Watkins Jr., who has also looked pretty good in camp and has had some promising moments and might start making some people think about, even if he does make practice squad, like I think he's someone they could call up and use in the case that they need another receiver due to injuries. Like I think he's someone that could end up, not making the 53, but really being used in moments that are needed, because we've had to do that over the years. It happens, injuries that you don't expect happen, and you need guys to come up. So he was really good too, but that fourth quarter drive was really nice to see, to get that final win. And look, the Jets were up, I believe 13-0 at one point. We don't come from behind. This is the Cleveland Browns. Like, when we're down, we're usually down. So it was, I know it's, not our starters, but it was good to see the team come from behind and play hard and then end up coming back and getting the win. Like, that's the type of culture stuff that you want to start seeing here, even when it's not the starters. I think it does mean something in a way that they cared enough to play hard for each other that they wanted to come back and win that game. So that was definitely really exciting for me to see. Okay, so that's kind of all of my takeaways from the Hall of Fame game. Couple other notes that I just want to quickly touch on for the Browns. Hall of Fame related, Joe Thomas obviously just went in. So proud of him, so excited for him. His speech was great. He's always been a good speaker. Like, I really think he's someone that, I know he already has somewhat of a career in media, but I think he can continue to grow that career and have an even more extensive career in the media world. But during the parade, his son Jack, who, gosh, he probably looks like he's in elementary school, I would say, he was just very aggressively booing the Steelers fans that he passed during the parade, screaming at them, booing, and a lot of Steelers fans apparently were very hurt by this, but like, what do you expect? This is the rivalry. This is how it goes. And I just think it's so sweet that he cares that much about the Browns and it matters that much to him that he was just booing his mind off. Like, he was really excited and happy to be there, excited to support his dad. And I think it shows how much like the Browns mean to the Thomas family in general. Like, Joe has talked about how Peyton Manning wanted him to come over and play with him during, I think, towards like the middle-ish end of his career, and really wanted him to come play with Peyton. And Joe kind of had to make the decision that, like, yeah, I could go chase a ring, but I really feel like I want to stay here in Cleveland and finish what I started. And I know we're not winning a lot, but, he felt like he owed it to Browns fans, and he felt like it meant something to be here. And I'm not saying every player has to feel that way. Like, I understand different players have different motivations, but it's really nice that he cared that much about Cleveland and about this fan base, that he wanted to see it through and that it mattered to him to be a part of this organization, even through some really down years that he had to put up with, where I'm sure it was hard to not be winning games. It was just nice to see how much the Browns mean to him as a person, and then mean to his family as a whole. I think the impact was pretty clear. So that was lovely, and a nice celebration of the Browns. Like I said, I think last episode, there's just always a lot of negativity around the Browns, so any moment we have to celebrate is pretty exciting. Other news that kind of just happened towards the end of training camp, Jerome Ford went down with a hamstring injury. No idea when he's going to come back or what the extent of the injury is. I hope it's not too bad. This might make them start to think about, should we bring in another running back? I think there were already questions of like, maybe it would be a good idea to get another like veteran running back who has some experience and bring them in. I think this kind of reaffirms to me that I would like to potentially bring someone else in. I hope the injury isn't too bad, because I still really want to see him play this season, but might make them think twice about just bringing in someone else for a little bit more comfort at the position. And then other injury news, Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas both have injuries that are going to have them miss extended time. And they said regular season games included. So they're going to miss some of the regular season with these injuries. And that just reaffirms everything I have said every week on this podcast, that we need more defensive tackles, at least one more. I really would like to bring someone in very soon if possible. I don't know what's happening with Matt Ioannidis. I have been talking about him not even just this season, but last season, about how he's someone I'd like to bring in, and he still hasn't landed anywhere yet. I don't know if he's just waiting or what the deal is with this situation, but I would love to bring him in or someone else. But I think it's pretty clear at this point, with these couple of injuries and just the depth that we already had that was lacking, that this is a position that we need to address before this season starts. And I'm hoping that there are conversations about that and that they are working on that, because I definitely think that could be the thing that ends up biting this defense in the butt, that ends up really hurting them at the end of the day, is that, you know, they thought they did some things at defensive tackle and it wasn't enough, and that they're still struggling to stop the run and still having some of the same issues that they had last season. So fingers crossed something is coming soon. Hopefully, like while I recorded this, something happened. Wouldn't that be great? I would love that. Okay, so that is all I have for you guys today. We have the Commanders preseason game coming up on Friday. Then it's Eagles, and then it's Chiefs, and then we are off. So gonna try to do the weekly episodes now that we are going. I know I'm getting close to the time that I will do the division predictions, the Super Bowl predictions, the NFL award predictions for the season. So that episode should be coming up in the next few weeks. I'll figure out when it makes the most sense to do that. So we have that to look forward to. Thank you to those of you who subscribed to the YouTube. I very much appreciate it. If you are watching this time, please subscribe. If you haven't gone to the YouTube yet, go there now. Please subscribe. I'm really trying to start using that more. So it'd be great if you guys could venture over there as well. You could listen on audio and video. You could do both. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to listen to myself twice, but you guys should want to listen to me twice. So yes, please subscribe. And then also subscribe and follow on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen there. Share with your friends who are Browns fans and getting pumped for the season. I know there's never enough content out there about this team. So I will just keep putting it out there. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate you all, and go Browns.